Welcome back, folks. My name is Meshach Canyon, and in today's video, I'm going to be issuing a small challenge that could slowly but surely disrupt the ways of hatred in our world. I know social media is full of challenges. Some of them go viral. Most of them don't go viral. In fact, the ones that do go viral usually have a dance or something like that attached to them, and they're very entertaining. So I'm pretty confident that this challenge will not be of the viral material. It won't be entertaining or anything like that, but it will require a mixture of love and courage. And I think that if it's properly attended to, it could change the world or at least save some lives. I thought about it a while ago while reading from different sources in the past few weeks. One of them was Abraham's encounter with a man named Abimelech in Genesis chapter 20. And the other sources came from different events that have been covered in the news recently, including the killing of a young black man named Ahmaud Arbery. Let me do my best to quickly tie these things together for you. In Genesis chapter 20, there's a story of Abraham who once again asked his wife Sarah to lie and say that she's his sister as they entered into this new town. This is the second time that Father Abraham has done this. He did it before when they were going into Egypt, and now as they head into a town called Gerar, he asks his wife to lie again. So two things real quick. Number one, I think it is pretty flattering to say to your wife, listen, babe, you look so good that I think the guys in this town are going to kill me for a chance of being with you. Number two, how cowardly, right? Anyway, as you would think, when they get to Gerar, King Abimelech finds out how beautiful Sarah is, and after hearing that she's just his sister and therefore available, he brings her into his household to become one of his wives or concubines. I don't know. But that same night, the Lord appeared to Abimelech in a dream and said to him, behold, you are a dead man because of the woman you have taken, for she is a man's wife. I bet none of you guys thought that God talked like that, like an action movie star, you know? But he said to him, you're dead meat, Abimelech, because you've taken another man's wife. Well, Abimelech pleaded his innocence, and he told God that he was deceived, and that what he did took place because he thought that Sarah was Abraham's sister. And so God told him to return Sarah to Abraham's household. It was when Abimelech returned her and confronted Abraham that I began to see an opportunity for us to follow his example, especially in the climate that we've been living in. Here's what he said to Abraham. What have you done to us, and how have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done to me things that ought not to be done. Then Abimelech said to Abraham, what did you see that you did this thing? Man, that last question, what did you see that you did this thing? It really caused me to pause and reflect upon the power of it, because it's really an important question. It's a question that goes right to the root, right to the core. It seeks to discover the motivation behind the action. And the reason that's important is because if a person is going to change in any meaningful way, the only place to begin is at the center. Trying to modify behavior without dealing with the heart of the matter is like using air freshener to clean up the air, the smell in the dirty room. At best, you'll solve the problem temporarily, but if you want to clean it up completely, you got to get rid of the trash. The question Abimelech asked Abraham goes right to the root of the problem. What did you see that you did this thing? Well, it was while thinking about this passage and that question that I also started looking into the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. Now, you're all familiar with what happened, I'm sure, so I'm not going to take the time to hash it out in great detail. But in summary, here's what we know right now. Ahmaud was running. Two white men, a father and son, suspected him of doing something wrong. Therefore, they confronted him with guns drawn. Ahmaud tried to get around them, but ended up struggling with the son and ended up being shot dead. Now, I'm not here to begin making presumptions about why they killed him or why it took a public outcry for the investigators to finally arrest Arbery's killers. I'm content to let the investigation finally play out, although I have zero confidence in our justice system when it comes to race-related issues. That's just a fact, but I'm still content to let it play out. However, it was while thinking about Ahmaud Arbery and Abraham and Abimelech that I began wondering what Arbery's killers would say if they were asked the Abimelech question. What did you see that you did this thing? And a few days later, I read a story about a black delivery driver who was making a delivery in an affluent neighborhood in Oklahoma, I think, when a white resident blocked his path with his car to ask him what he was doing there. I mean, read it for yourself. The link is in the description. But there's every indication that because he saw a black man in a rich neighborhood, that he confronted him. He didn't think he was supposed to be there. So someone needs to ask this man, what did you see that you did this thing? But then it occurred to me that asking the Abimelech question after a grievous deed is done, that's good and all, but in many cases it's too late. The impact of the bad behavior has already been made, and you can't undo it. You can't unring that bell. But what if the question was asked before? And I mean way before a grievous deed was even close to being done. What if, to go back to Genesis 20, it wasn't Abimelech asking that question to Abraham, but what if it was someone in Abraham's inner circle that asked him that question? Maybe as he's formulating the plan to go into Gerar and he's thinking out loud about having Sarah lie, what if someone who loved him said, Abraham, what do you see in these people from Gerar that's causing you to think along these lines? See, because the way hate works is by approval. That's the only way it grows. Because hate of all sorts is cowardly. And being cowardly, it needs consent in order to grow. And consent is given whenever something hateful is voiced without being challenged. That's all it takes. For example, it wouldn't surprise me if there's someone out there right now who might be remembering that they heard Arbery's killers making a Prejudice comment about black people. Maybe they saw some black kids hanging out and they heard them say something like this. Those kids are up to no good. That's all it takes, just something like that. Now, this is conjecture, of course, but those are the moments when the Abimelech question is needed. Because in those moments, a question like that could disrupt the thought process and potentially lead to different behaviors. Just potentially. It at least gives it a chance. Because as I just said, hatred is cowardly. And the person being groomed to hate does that grooming within a context of people they feel comfortable saying stuff like that around. That's why every family is aware of the uncle or cousin or whatever that's racist or sexist or xenophobic, because it's in the close and comfortable context of family that they feel comfortable speaking their hate. Another example of this is NASCAR driver. This just happened back in April. NASCAR driver Kyle Larson. He was playing video games online in a group filled with his friends that he believed to be private, and because he felt comfortable, the N-word comes racing out of his mouth. I tell you, it's the places where people feel safe that hatred is groomed. Therefore, those are also the places where hatred must be confronted before it grows into something that makes the news. See, because asking the Abimelech question in those moments might help the person see that the problem is not with the person I'm perceiving, but the problem is with me. The problem is with me, the perceiver. Rabbi Shemuel ben Nachmani was right when he said, we do not see things as they are, we see things as we are. And look, I'd be shocked if anyone watching this video can't think of at least one person who has a hate-filled perspective about a certain group or individual. Well, I challenge you to not allow them to think that you agree with them by remaining silent the next time they open their mouth and pour out filth. And you can do that by simply asking the Abimelech question. What do you see that you're saying this thing? Will they like it? Heck no, they won't like it. Who likes to be put on the spot like that? But if you love them, even if you like them, or even if you desire what's best for them, it would be irresponsible for you to see the root of hate and not attempt to at least point it out. That would be as irresponsible as a doctor noticing a growth in her patient, but saying, it's just a small one. It's no big deal. I know this won't be easy, and you may lose friends, or you may be on the outs with family members. I get it. Look, I'm a pastor, and part of my vocation is to observe people, to listen to people. And I've often ended up biting my tongue because I knew that sometimes the thing I was going to say was going to be difficult, and I thought they wouldn't listen anyways. But in all honesty, you know what that often is? That's often just the fear of confrontation. But the Bible says perfect love drives out fear. So by God's grace, I won't be silent anymore. Imagine what would happen if we all asked the question a little bit more than we already do. What if we routinely let our friends, family members, co-workers, neighbors, church members know that through our Abimelech questioning, their hate does not have the agreement of the community? It's possible that we could keep someone's hate from growing, and perhaps we could even cause them to think differently about a person or group and behave in different ways. This means a lot to me now more than it did a few years ago. It meant a lot then, but now it means a whole lot more. And I think it's because that as my kids get older, I know that in some people's eyes, they no longer have that childlike innocence, the ones that all children have. But right now, there's literally some people around the world that would see my kids hanging out outside and think that they're up to no good just because of the color of their skin. And it's not unfounded either. There's actually data that supports this. And I'll post the links to these articles in the description so you can see for yourself. But young black men are often associated with the presence of perceived crime. And black men are often perceived as being bigger and stronger than other men, and therefore often perceived as being more violent. And on it goes, man. Therefore, my simple challenge, my simple invitation is to ask you to help people, especially those who you hear uttering racist, sexist, xenophobic, or any other kind of hateful garbage in your hearing. Help them by asking them the Abimelech question. What did you see, or what were you thinking that you did, said, thought, tweeted, emailed, or suggested this thing? Who knows, man? By doing so, you might actually alter the course of someone's future for the better. Look, guys, it doesn't take much to change lives or even save lives. It doesn't take much. Just a little love and courage will do. Thank you for watching. I'm praying for you guys. Keep praying for me. And until next time, remain in the love of God. Peace and goodness.